Most of us are into production. We want to get something out of the soil. All right? And it's like a balance sheet when you talk about sustainable, regenerative, whatever it is. What goes out, what comes in. If what goes out is more than what comes in, you're in deficit. You are spoiling the land. You've used up too much of your credit. If you put in more and take out less, you are building up your store. So it's more into taking care of the soil. So underneath here, the wood is rotting, it's doing all that, and a lot of plants go in. In the beginning, what I planted was things like calendula, plantain. I let things grow, and you see over time they all self-seed. Like all the calendula is self-seeding. A lot of those vegetables are self-seeding, good Cape gooseberries. And so you notice narrow leaf plantain, for instance. I let them grow everywhere. White clover, self-heal. Jamila doesn't like dock, but I plug my ears, I don't listen. All right. And so they grow. And strangely enough, the one thing I didn't have here is comfrey. I don't have comfrey. This is an old English herb called meadowsweet. It's the original aspirin. And hiding somewhere in there is a Stella cherry. Like I said, cherimoya, self-sown feijoa. Evo, I may graph later.
What's this one?
So, that is Titonia. I just stuck that in a few days ago, thinking, it'd be nice to have some shade here. Titonias are those, you see the one with the big yellow flower there?
Mm.
Yeah, they grow that tall in about 4 months, right? So they are great for chopping and dropping. They are sometimes called Mexican daisy. And all you got to do is stick it in, it will grow. It's a sterile version, so it won't invade anywhere. To grow it, you have to take cutting. And I stick them everywhere. In fact, just about a month or so ago, I put one in there, and it's already come up to this high. There, the edge there. So there it is, and about a couple of months ago, and got some of this French marigolds, and they're good. So you put them around, and things grow in here. What you will notice is there's no group of vegetables. After all, when you really think of it, there's Jamila and the two of us, there's three of us. It's supposed to give us food for that time. And when we talk about fruit trees, these are the places where we have vegetables. And then in between, there'll be vegetables all over the place. All right?
Is that cherimoya on its own roots?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Most cherimoyas will give you decent fruit anyway.
How long do they take to actually fruit?
When they're big enough.
How many years?
Nature has no timeline. All right, nature will grow. They will tell you when they're ready. Okay. So, syntropy. It's a new word. Klaus went to learn with Ernst Gosch in Brazil, and Klaus is German, Ernst is Swiss, but they went to work amongst native communities that were displaced. They were in the bush, but because the government wanted to do things to the bush, they brought them all, gave them small plots of land, and said, well, there you are, plant, live, be happy. And of course, they only knew a few things. Chop, clear everything, grow. As time went by, the land got worse and worse, they grew poorer and poorer. And so they tried to give them an initiative on how to regenerate the soil. So to do that, Klaus Klaus was with Ernst for a long time. They started thinking, how can we teach these people? What did they used to do? They used to go into the bush, amongst the native trees, and wherever there's space, they planted. So they planted things that they want in places that already have an environment, ecology that helps the soil. And they all use machete, so chop, get through. That's it. So that was it. It's a very funny concept. The concept works on succession. And to be a gardener is very good actually in a way. It makes us very philosophical. We live, we die, other people live, all right? So succession tells us that first things that grow are weeds. Weeds are the best thing for your ground when you're new. Z, where are you? All right, that's new. When you clear your land, weeds are going to grow up. When you get a wound, a scab is going to grow up. All right, you keep scratching the scab, you never get healed. So weeds are the first thing that grow. Once the weeds come out and they die and you have some humus, the second generation, maybe little shrubs come up and they keep coming up. Then finally the trees grow up. And if you go into a native bush, not all the secondary bush, the ground is basically empty. By which time they blocked off everything, the ground is actually clear, it's cool, and that's the way nature is. So succession is very important. So one of the things we do, we plan for, is I have peach trees over there. I'll give them about 7 years. They'll be bound to be dead by then. If not, I'll make sure they are and plant something else beside. We are all in our own separate gardens. I don't know how many of you are guilty of that. We treat our trees like residents in an old folks' home. They have dementia. They are not good for anything except leaning their thumbs and waiting for dinner. All right? And if you want trees like that, and you wonder why they are not giving you anything, that's the reason why. They are past it. Unfortunately, with chop and drop, no sentiment involved. They're past it, chop them down. All right? And gets a bit what? Oh, I need this. I'm doing this. All right? And so when you look at things like this, you give it a good chop and it's gone. All right? It goes down. The seeds are there already. They are already flowering. There it goes. All right? And that's what you do. So chopping and dropping is very important. As soon as you pass the prime, let it go. Okay. So that's that. This is called a keyhole garden. It's a very interesting thing that originated in a tiny state in the north of South Africa called Lesotho. It's one of the poorest countries in the world, up atop of a ridge, and it's so poor, there's nothing there, no soil much, and the people are just scratching a living. And one thing good about Australians, they are very good at permaculture and all that. Australian volunteers went there and they said, we really need to teach them what to do. And there were school teachers, primary school, so they got the kids together and designed this thing. 1 meter from the center, a ring, the photograph if you've seen it. Alright, in that place, I dug a hole down, put in the smaller twigs. These are old bricks and everything. And because it's a meter, you can reach it everywhere without stepping on it. In the middle, what they made them do, just put sticks there so that the household rubbish can go in there. In my case, I use a worm tunnel. It's got an empty bottom, and so I chuck things in there. The worms take care of them, and the leachate goes out and feeds the plant. It's called a keyhole garden because you need in there so it looks like a keyhole. And you'd be surprised, even taking the consideration that that slot there is about 3.5 square meters. It's a very efficient use of space. So with these trees, cover them with cardboard, put mulch on it, and then start planting. I put here Vietnamese mint. I always advise people put Vietnamese mint. The smell is so strong, the poor borers can't smell the citrus, and you do that, you're not going to get borers. And whatever I could get, all right, nasturtiums, plantain, and we planted them. This one is even more interesting, okay? And it'd be a nice exercise for you to stand here afterwards and count to see what you have in here. There's heaps. I think I must have about 20 to 40 types of herbs and so-called weeds. I have about 65 varieties of apples here, about 14 types of plums, and peaches not so much. But eventually, because it's only less than half an acre, and so what happens is I don't want all the same apple. When I get them by the bushel load and start to give everybody, and then the rest of you get nothing. This tree has been featured in the Tree Croppers magazine. At that time it had 10 grafts. You can see all the grafts. Not all of them do well. Look at this first one, a splendor. Well, it's not splendid, but there it is. It's 11 now. There are a few more branches coming out, so next year is going to be more. And this one has already fruited. This one's fruited. This one, Golden Delicious, will fruit next year. So what happens is I may get, say, well, 5 apples. By the time be bigger. And next week some more. And a different variety. I think for a small garden, that's what we need to do. Not all at once. And if you plan it well, you get apples from somewhere middle of February, all right, all the way to July. And that's what you need to do. That's why a lot of these old trees, they should have been sold at the tree crop sale, but because of lockdowns, and some of them have gone to ground. So I'm waiting for them to go dormant or pull them out and redo them, tidy them up a bit, and maybe do more grafts on them. The whole idea is to have a variety. The one thing I don't concentrate on is cooking apples, because I don't like cooking apples. And no Granny Smith. I hate Granny Smith. I grew up with Granny Smiths in Malaya. That's the only apple we can get. Unripe, tart, hard, useless. And so until today I won't look at them.